Welcome to the Triple Play Fantasy Network. I am your host, Kevin at DuBois_22, and I am here with Eric from Sports, who's also part of Triple Play, has been writing great articles for us. Eric, how are we doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Kevin. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great, and we're here to be talking to you guys about some NBA playoff narratives. So we're going to be going over the second round narratives of the NBA playoffs and what it looks like, and each kind of series, and one series is already over. So Eric, why don't you get started what we're going to talk about first?
All right, we had a great action-packed weekend. Most importantly, the Phoenix Suns were the first team to advance to the conference finals, completed the 4-game sweep in Denver. As you see right there on that wonderful graphic, Chris Paul has been playing absolute lights out.
Yeah. I mean, to me, he's my favorite player growing up. I feel like I've been watching him since I have grown up, but it's true. Like, he's been in the league since 2006. That's a long time. I mean, that's when I was just now getting out of high school too. So I've been kind of running around him for a while. What do you think about Chris Paul? Just what he's doing this playoffs, just in general?
I think he's just on this ultimate, I have to prove myself to everyone tour, because he went through the Lakers with that LeBron James guy. He took them out. He's going up against Denver with Joker, who just won the MVP. 4-game sweep. He's just looking so, I think efficient's probably the best word, but he's just on another level. He's making the right shots, making the right passes, and in the fourth quarter, he's just been so clutch. I mean, I don't know what else to say. He's just been everything you want from a point guard. He's such a good leader. He's been offensively, defensively, everywhere for this team.
Yeah, no, he's been clutch, and I think he's got to make a finals. Like, I think for his legacy to be kind of like secured, I think that's the one glaring weakness, right? Western Conference Finals, he's just never really been there. They should have won with the Rockets when they missed 27 straight threes, the playoff series against the Warriors. They would have beat Cleveland that year because Cleveland was awful that year. Cleveland probably should have lost the first round against the Pacers that year. So where do you rank CP3 in like legacy wise? Like, is he your top point guard ever? Because I've seen people say that. Ooh. I know that, like, what's funny is you probably know because you grew up around that time. Remember when they used to say it was Darren Williams? Like, that was the guy that was supposed to compete with them. I know Johnson.
I believe Magic Johnson is going to forever, or at least for a very, very long time, be the number one in my book. But I do remember that the constant Darren Williams versus CP3. Hey, Darren Williams was with the Jazz. Maybe CP3 can take down the Jazz as a tribute to Darren Williams. I think this definitely, if he can bring a championship to Phoenix, if he can do that, I absolutely put him in that maybe top 5 category. It's going to be hard to put him above, obviously, Magic, but Steph Curry and, John Stockton, even though he didn't win a championship, Steve Nash. These are guys who just played the position excellent, high-level basketball. You got to look at some Oscar Robertsons, but CP3 is definitely making his case. Where would you have him in your all-time legacy of point guards?
He's top 4 for me. I think he's very close, 4-3. But if he wins a ring, I think it's very close. Like, all the metrics and efficiency, it actually leans CP3 even over Magic. But you can't put him over. You can't put him over Magic in terms of like winning and what he was able to accomplish. But I still think he's a top 3 point guard. The dude is insane. When you watch him play, I just think that. People don't like him for a lot of little things. He plays a different way. I love the way he plays. I'm old school, but he does do little things, right? Like he cries at the refs. He's gotten injured a few times. He flops. There was some things in college and in the NBA too. He's hitting people in the nuts. I don't know if you remember that. He used to do that kind of stuff. But do you think the Suns are the favorite to win the West?
Honestly, at this point, yes. I think the way that they just took care of business the first 2 rounds, they just took on the Lakers, defending champs, and took care of them, went to Denver. And I mean, Denver was missing Jamal Murray. Obviously, it's not the full-strength team. You play who's in front of you. But having this extra rest while the Jazz and Clippers play at least 2 more games, right? Chris Paul is going to rest whatever little injuries he has. I think they're right now looking like they are the top dog. It's the Western Conference is for them to lose. What is your take?
No, I don't think that's fair. I don't think Murray would have. I think Murray. I'm a little down on Murray compared to some other guys. I think he's okay. He's a fine point guard, but the way the Suns are playing, I don't think it would have mattered if Murray was there. I think they would have won maybe a game or 2, maybe went game 6. But I think the Suns, just what they're doing, they're a very good basketball team. And a shout out to Ayton because DeAndre he's playing great, and Booker obviously, but Ayton's there, and Ayton's just legitimately a double guy now, and he just is going to be putting up those numbers, and he looks really solid. The last thing we want to touch down with this one is that we saw what happened here. John Morant came out today and said the NBA is soft. Jokic got tossed last night. We saw that happen. Do you think the NBA is too soft?
Yeah, that one. Look, I don't think Jokic was making the smart play there. I don't think he needed to wind up. I do like there clearly was contact, but you can't throw out the MVP in an elimination game like that. Not that they would have come back and won the series from down in the fourth quarter of Game 4, but that was just not the right call there. I think if you're the refs, you got to kind of swallow the whistle and let them play. Would you have made that call?
Oh, no, refs are trash, Eric. They're just trash. I, as a coach, just trust me. Like, they get involved too much. But I will say that is a classic basketball move right there. Jokic was frustrated of the series. He got pissed. He swung down. He shouldn't have done it. He did it. I don't know necessarily if that was worth it. I think the flopping was there too. But in general, everything is a little bit more soft now in the NBA. Like, basketball-wise, it's soft. Like, it's just – that's just the era we live in. Like, it just as I coach them. I coach these kids. They're just soft, and that's just kind of how we roll.
So as a coach, if your best player was Jokic and you're watching that happen in there, how do you react?
Well, I've done that. I've seen it happen before. I've had guys get either tossed technicals that cost them, and you just have to there's really nothing you can do. Like, that's the thing. Like, as a coach, it's, hey, next guy up. You know what? Let's just kind of weather this storm. I'm not going to yell at the refs because they're not going to change their call. And I think you just have to kind of weather it. But being down 3-0, I think that was kind of the final nail in the coffin. And you just hope that your guys don't react that way. But I understand it. They were getting their butts kicked, and that's just a testament to what the Suns do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for Nikola Jokic, he's had an unbelievable season. It's unfortunate that was the last play for him. But I do think next year, I mean, we're going to disagree with this, but I do think next year Murray being back would have pushed them. Maybe not. Maybe they wouldn't have beat the Suns because the Suns, like you said, absolute wagon right now. They're looking like they're the train that's going to go roll through the finals. But who knows? I mean, there's always the what if of if Murray had played. Well, and what if Jokic didn't get thrown out?
Embiid would have never got thrown out. That's why he should have been the MVP. All right, let's move on to the next series. It's the Clippers versus the Jazz, which is it's actually been a fun little series here as we see with Donovan Mitchell. All right, so just, give me your takes on this series so far. 2-1, where do you think this goes? What do you think we'll notice about it?
Well, I've noticed so far it seems to be going the way you expect. The home teams have won both games. Kawhi Leonard is just a machine in the playoffs. The rebounds, the defense, everything, like the scoring. And Spider Mitchell, man, that graphic there was great, by the way. Spider Mitchell, every time I watch him go off, like a part of me as this Knicks fan, as you can see, cries because we took Frank Ntilikina when Donovan Mitchell's from New York. He's a Mets fan. Like, it was built for us. But I think this series is going to go the distance. I think it's going to be 7 games, Utah in 7.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting. I don't know. Like, Kawhi is so damn good. Listen, when we talk about this on podcasts, if you haven't listened to it on the Triple Play podcast, we talk about this. The thing I worry about is the Clippers after after George and Kawhi, they have nothing. Like, when you look at them, their depth is not good, but Kawhi is so damn good. And he can take over those series. Look what he did against Luka, right? Like in that series, in that Game 7, Game 6, he said, nope, we're not losing. Do you think that Mitchell can – now, Mitchell looked a little banged up, and then you'll see that. We haven't seen Conley yet. Do you think that Mitchell can go mano-a-mano versus Kawhi?
No, but I don't think he has to. Okay. And here's the thing. I think what happens in the playoffs, and this is just like a common, trope in basketball, I guess, role players play better at home, right? Bogdanovich and Clarkson were both knocking down all the threes they wanted in Utah, and they kind of fell apart. I know Clarkson was 5 for 16 in LA, and Bogdanovich, I think, was like 2 for 10. Maybe I'm getting the numbers wrong, but they both had poor nights. I think if Donovan Mitchell can play his brand of basketball, get those two guys involved more, I don't see anybody stopping Rudy Gobert. I think Zubac is lucky to be, lucky to have survived so far without getting embarrassed. But I think Gobert is just such a difference maker for the Utah Jazz that Donovan Mitchell doesn't have to be toe-to-toe with Kawhi, if that makes sense.
That's fair. I think one point about Gobert. So what you saw last game, what the Lou made an adjustment, and he basically went small. And so it really pushed Gobert out, and he couldn't really guard those perimeter players. And the one thing that was different from last game than the previous game one, when they tried to do that, is that they actually didn't dominate the boards. The Jazz didn't dominate the boards with that small ball kind of mentality from the Clippers. So that's an interesting thing to play out. Can that change last? Is that something that they're going to be able to do, go small all the time, or is it going to come back and bite them? I think it does bite them at a certain point, like you talked about. Like they know they can't have Zubac out there because Zubac's not very good in terms of Gobert. They got to try to force Gobert out, but they're going to take some lumps on the offensive side. I think the best point you mentioned was like the home court advantage is really going to matter in this series, and because of those role players, because Bogdanovich and those guys, they shoot amazing in Utah. And then when you get them out of there, they struggle a little bit. So I see that. Now, we did put in the notes, and I usually don't like to talk about Stephen A. because I want to cry. But he said Mitchell is the best player in Jazz history. That is blasphemous, Stephen A. That is blasphemous, right?
I mean, I'm with you. I don't like going crazy over Stephen A. The guy is just a shock talking head.
Yeah.
But, I mean, come on. Donovan Mitchell's been a joy to watch, an absolute electric player for this franchise, revitalized them, brought them back. Whatever you want to say, sure, go for it. No, you can't disrespect Stockton and Malone like that. That's just, hey, even Darren Williams might be higher up on the list than Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, and don't be disrespecting Andre Kirilenko, old school. Like, come on, guys.
AK-47.
AK-47. Don't be hurting these guys out here.
One of the best nicknames in Utah Jazz history.
Oh, and him and his wife had an amazing agreement. You go Google that. I can't use this is a friendly pod, but we'll go Google that one.
Okay. All right. I'll jot that down in the after hours notes.
All right. So we're gonna go to the Eastern Conference now, and we're gonna shift gears a little bit. We're gonna talk about Bucks Nets, which, man, this narrative has shifted after the first two games. It has been an interesting area here. So we saw Kawhi go down. We saw Harden is kind of out, right? What is your overall thoughts about this thing?
Well, I missed the second half of this game, and I was at work, and my friend had just asked me, do you think the Bucks stand a chance? And I said, if Harden's coming back, just wrap it up, send the Nets to the next round. It's over. Not even a second later, my phone dings. Kyrie Irving sprained ankle out, and that just flips everything. Yeah. If this becomes the Kevin Durant and others versus Giannis and others series, I think the others on Milwaukee are just a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, Blake Griffin's been playing great for the Nets. Joe Harris, we know, can shoot. But if Joe Harris is your second option, it's not the same as when Joe Harris has Kyrie to pass to or James Harden to pass to, right? I mean, the Nets right now coming back to Brooklyn is going to help them, but that's a must win. You can't give the Bucks 3 in a row going back to Milwaukee for Game 6. So this is a big game in Brooklyn.
Oh, it's massive. And I'm interested to see what you think here. So we had a hot take on the podcast recently. On the podcast, they said the Harden would be better. I mean, the Nets would be better right now if they never traded for Harden. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, actually, because that means they would have a healthy Karis LeVert, right? Is that how that plays out? And they'd probably have Jared Allen,
Karis LeVert with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. They'd be more depth pieces. Like, what do you think about that?
I think they did give up a lot for James Harden, and the fact that he's not on the court right now is leaving a pretty expensive hole on their bench. Yeah, I think Karis LeVert, excellent player. I would love to see him, really come back full health and take off. Even Jared Allen, I think, would be helping them because right now, I mean, Giannis and Brook Lopez are looking like the best rebounding duo in the league against Blake Griffin, and I love Blake Griffin. He's just not who he was.
Yeah, and DeAndre Jordan can't even get on the court.
Yeah.
He just can't get out there. He's a shell of himself there. I think the most interesting thing is, first of all, PJ Tucker versus KD and all that stuff makes me laugh. Like I'm dying about that. I don't know if KD needs it. I know he has his burner accounts out there, and if he finds me, he'll be mad. But he's got to win this series, I feel like. If he wants to be the dude, like all these other guys have taken guys. He's won rings with Curry and the Warriors. We've seen that. Does he need to win this for his legacy?
Well, first of all, KD, if you're watching this on a burner account, comment like wink, wink in the comments. I think this is, in a way, this is like a path for KD to redeem himself that he never expected. If Kyrie's out and James Harden's out and this is his team and it's him and Bruce Brown fighting at the end for the ball, then yeah, KD can carry this to a different level. If he can go through Giannis, if he can go through the Bucks, if he can go through, Philly or whoever, if he can carry this Nets team to a championship, absolutely. Because again, it's Steve Nash, first year coaching. We don't really even know how much Steve Nash is doing, how much it's Mike D'Antoni, how much it's the team effort of coaching. So for Kevin Durant to really put the entire team on his back would be absolutely incredible. Unless PJ Tucker just stops him from moving.
Yeah, I mean, PJ Tucker's not even playing defense out here. PJ Tucker's playing defense like I play the defense of the park now. Like I just kind of hit people a shoulder, and I just don't not letting you go by me, like how I do with my varsity kids. I'm not letting you go by me.
Yeah, so, PJ's playing bully ball.
So who do you think wins then? Who you got?
It really all depends on that ankle. If Kyrie comes back, I mean, Game 5 is going to be huge. I want to say the Nets, Kevin Durant can do it, but I think the Bucks right now just are rolling. They got the momentum. They're feeling good after that win. Kyrie and Harden out. I'm saying Bucks in 6, and that's a complete flip because before the series I wrote Nets in 6.
Yeah, I think I said Nets in 5 when everybody was healthy, just because I didn't think anybody could get by them with that health. I think they're that good, and I don't know. I don't think Kyrie's coming back. I've seen that injury plenty of times, like you have. It's going to take a couple of weeks. I think it's going to come down to Harden if he comes back. But hamstrings are tricky. They're just tricky.
We've been seeing all year. I mean, even Durant earlier in the year, it was a hamstring that kept him sidelined. It kept getting extended. Anthony Davis was the same thing with the Lakers, where it was a small injury. Hamstrings are very tricky. And like you said, with Kyrie's injury, the ankle snap was one of those, sour lemon faces when you see it, kind of just hoping everything's all right. I don't think he'll be back. And I think the Bucks are a very, very good team. I think the Bucks can actually beat Durant.
Oh, wow. Well, that'll be interesting. Hot take here on Triple Play. That's what men's sports talks about here.
That's what we're here for. Better question, not to get into the world of celebrity boxing, but KD, PJ Tucker, who wins a fight?
PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker, he's ending that guy. He's going through there. All right, we have one last series here. Philly takes on Atlanta. Obviously, Philly leads 2-1. Embiid is playing on a torn meniscus, it looks like, or partially torn, whatever's going on there. This has been an interesting series to my point. Embiid has been playing like an MVP. I think he is the MVP. If he wasn't out those games, I think he would have got it over Joker. But what did you take on this series?
This series, kind of similar to how Kyrie has his injury. A lot depends on that. If Embiid can play like this with his knee, then I think the Sixers, don't lose another game this series. I think they're going to walk away with it. I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend I know much about meniscuses. But if I had a 300-pound patient who had a slight tear in his meniscus, I'd be very scared. That's all I'm going to say about his knee. But I think Philly can take care of business.
Yeah, it comes down to him. I just don't – how long can he last? I think they're going to win this series. I'm not necessarily worried about this series because I think that they are the better team. And I think one thing is about Simmons. I know there are a couple of things. I'm a big Simmons apologist. I love Simmons. I think he's an amazing player. He doesn't need to score to make an impact, which he's not doing right now. And Trae Young, he's been guarding Trae. You've seen them kind of use this. You've seen his efficiency go down with Trae. So I think he's done a great job. But at the same time, they have to have a beat out there. Now, how long can he last? I don't know. The other guys around them, I actually think Danny Green getting hurt is a good thing. And the reason why is because I think Thybulle's better. I think Thybulle's needs to be in that roster, in that rotation more. And he's probably going to start, maybe not. Maybe he'll be the sixth man coming off there. But I think Thybulle will actually help that team more in the long run. Danny Green's been playing awful. Danny Green can't guard anybody anymore. And if he's not hitting threes, he's going 0 for 12. So, sorry, Danny Green, if you have a burner too. But those are the guys that I don't like Danny Green. I think he's overrated in terms of kind of what he brings to the team. But what do you think about that? I like Thybulle. I think they fit well. Now, the worry is the next round. Do they have enough to get by in that next round?
I think Thibault is a great defender. Danny Green's just a catch and shoot kind of proven winner. I mean, San Antonio and Toronto and the Lakers. But I mean, if you got a burner, just go off in the comments right there. Just let us know. But I agree. If they get to the next round and meet the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie and James Harden are hurt, I don't see anybody on the Nets that could really stop Embiid unless you put maybe DeAndre on him, but then DeAndre kind of slows down this running gun offense that Steve Nash is running. If it's the Bucks, then Giannis against a fully healthy Embiid would be, must-watch TV, heavyweight champs. But if Embiid's not fully healthy, Giannis could probably, take advantage, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's all about health. It sucks that it comes down to health. Like, I hate that. I hate that we're not seeing the best teams, but it happens. We see it year in and year out. I will say this. I think I want to give another shout out to Trae Young. I've never been a huge Trae Young guy. I've always thought that he was inefficient, but he's grown up a lot in this playoffs. I think that's another narrative that we got to talk about. Like, a lot of these young guys, Booker, Trae Young, a lot of these guys that we've seen here, they really grew up in the playoffs. It's been fun to see.
Oh, yeah, definitely. A lot of these guys, I was thinking about it last night, how Devin Booker, against the Lakers dropped over 40 points in the closeout game. Last night dropped 34. And these are elimination games in the playoffs on the road. Yeah. He's completely unfazed by it. And like you were saying earlier, DeAndre Ayton's became a double-double machine. DeAndre Ayton, I just got to say, he looks both his age, 22, and like 65 at the same time. DeAndre Ayton has really matured, into a primetime player. Same thing for Trae Young. And I agree. I remember watching him at Oklahoma where he would have those Steph Curry moments of step back from 35 feet and hit it. But if you watched him on any regular basis, there were games where he would shoot like 4 for 20, Yeah. He's not doing that so much anymore. I like to think he can lead this Hawks to, the promised land, to a higher ground. But I just think right now at least, the East, there are too many. The top 3 teams in the East are just too stacked for that Hawks team.
Yeah, they need some help, and I think they're going to have to try to find another guy there. But there's a salary cap issue there. But I got to give him a shout out. Like, Trae, you're playing well. I don't know.
Nate McMillan, man, the way he turned that ship around, they went from sinking out of the playoffs to the hottest team in the league.
Yeah, no, Nate, he's been around forever, man, and he turned that thing around and he did that. So I don't know if they're going to win again in Philly. I'm not sure. I think it could go 6, maybe. Depends on how they get hot. But I think they figured out defensively what they're doing against Trae and those guys. They're just running them off the line. If you watch that game, they're just running those dudes off the line, and they're saying, hey, you're going to beat us in other spots. So I don't think they win another game. What about you?
I don't think so either. I think Philly in 5.
Philly, you heard it here. Philly in 5. He's excited about that. Now, what we want to do this last part, and real quick, we're going to talk about the NBA Finals real quick and give you a little bit of a rundown and give us your prediction. So, who do you got in your NBA Finals right now, Eric?
I have, representing the West, the Phoenix Suns, led by Chris Paul, going up against the Brooklyn Nets and Steve Nash. I'm all for this because it's just Chris Paul versus all of his exes. It's the best narrative. You have Chris Paul against James Harden, against Blake Griffin, against DeAndre Jordan. Then on the other side, you have Steve Nash against the Phoenix Suns. And that means a lot to Steve Nash, a lot to the Phoenix Suns organization in Phoenix. And this is going to be really hard, really painful to say, but I think the Nets get healthy, and I think the Nets in 6.
Wow. Okay. Well, I like that. I like that a lot. I think, I'm going the Suns as well, just because I'm rooting for CP3. That's how I am. And to be honest, I want the Suns or the Jazz. I want somebody new, but I also would like Conley to get in there. So it really doesn't matter to me, to be honest. I like them both, but I'm going to go with the Suns, and I'm going with the Sixers. I'm going to go out on a limb here and just say Embiid stays healthy, Simmons and those guys figure out defensively in the final, or in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think that'd be an amazing finals. The Sixers versus the Suns.
That would bring us Chris Paul versus Doc Rivers. I'm all for that too. I just want to say Chris Paul versus Xers. That's why, if the Clippers come out and beat the Jazz, then you have Chris Paul versus Steve Ballmer. All around, Chris Paul is just fired up. Last round, he took out Austin Rivers. Basically, if you've ever had the slightest tiff, little tiniest shoving match, bad blood with Chris Paul, he's coming for you this playoffs.
Yeah, no, I'm all for it. I love it. So those are some narratives that we went over. Suns, Nuggets, what we think about CP3, the playoffs. We're excited to bring you this. We'll probably come back next week. We'll talk about some more if Eric's got some time. Eric, got anything else for these playoffs?
I'm just enjoying each and every one of these games. Next year, don't be surprised to see the finals go through Madison Square Garden. But we'll cross that bridge next year when we get there.
These Knicks fans, you can never let them just freely talk on the podcast without listening to.
You give us an inch, and we're going a New York mile.
All right. Well, I'm just glad you guys made the playoffs finally, and it's something my Kings cannot do. So, all right. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Everybody that's listening, if you're watching on YouTube, as always, please hit that subscribe button below. Let us know how you think. Let us know what you think of the narratives. Let us know what you think of CP3, all those things. Until next time, we appreciate you guys, and we'll check us on the channel.